Yep, it's time for another story today. You want to hear another story about a mysterious plane that crashed into the ocean? Yep, I do. It's a very crazy and shocking story that how this plane has survived. And it's also one of the rare planes and one of the most, well, first class passenger planes that are very luxurious. And how could such a plane crash in 2016? That's so recent. So let's dive in and learn the story of a plane that crashed in the middle of an ocean because of a fire. Plane Egyptian Air 804. Now, before we dive into the mysterious plane crash, let me just say one for you. Cigarette smoking is bad. And combine that, you know where I'm going, into a plane, you cigarette smoke on the plane, you just sit there and it does a lot of functionality that I don't even know to this age. But there's also the air pressure, the wind in there, and so the wind gets blown up and other people's the oxygen starts to lower down and other mechanic stuff. It was really bad. But too much smoking is bad. Only one cigarette smoking is not that harmful, but it could lead to worse and long-term scenarios. But anyway, let's get into this. So Egyptian Air 804 was about to take flight in 2016. The two flight captains were very young. I don't exactly remember the name because they had long names, but you could search and look up the real video yourself. But anyway, they had around thousands of flight time, like 2,000 or 4,000. It was quite. They were quite young, and there was around about 200 passengers, and there's also some crew on the board. So, as they were taking off, there was nothing, in concern because it was normal. But here's the history of this plane. First of all, in 2016, captains were already allowed to smoke in the cabin plane. I know, it sounds crazy, right? 2016. Why can't they just ban it earlier? But anyways, as the people were speculating the theory of how the plane landed and just crashed into ocean, a plane just can't crash into the ocean like that. So it's theory time. So, first of all, if the smoke was in the cabin of the plane, that could easily have, pressurized and the air could have done some things with it. I don't know, but the oxygen could drop down and maybe there could be some oxygen masks. But no, that didn't happen. So the oxygen masks were actually already ready, and so the officer, like the control officer, the younger officer, So the younger officer, the site had a gas mask that was just replaced. And the gas mask was filled with kind of a lot of air, and it wasn't that regulated and checked that properly. I don't know much about the control systems or anything. I'm not a pilot maniac, but so the cabin experienced a lot of oxygen and it was going okay so far until they landed into the Mediterranean Sea. So in Greece, the flight was from Greece to Egypt, and they didn't even make flight messages to the other runway, and it was pretty normal. So they were just continuing, and it was a normal day. The passengers were enjoying, and they were just enjoying and chilling out until the plane just landed and sank down in the ocean. Many people just say that, but I have no idea why a plane would just land in the ocean. So I dug further and found some evidence and research. First of all, cigarette smoking. I told you it's about in the first part of the video. And cigarette smoking is bad, and a lot of it could destroy the cabin's mechanics. And I'm not a pilot maniac again, but It could have easily harmed the plane's cabin, and then the oxygen. Remember, the oxygen mask was filled with way more pressurized oxygen or anything, but the officers were starting to get weird. The plane was starting to get weird, and smoke started to appear. Cigarette smoke. The pilot sensed it. It was trouble. And so they announced after a few minutes, they probably thought nothing about it, but the officers still thought some things about it because they were concerned of what could happen. And it could be really dangerous if there was another plane crash coming out. So they wanted to avoid a plane crash, so they sent a few messages. No, they sent smoke. Yep, they sent some messages because they were in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. I don't know why I have trouble pronouncing that. But anyways, the plane had smoke in it, and oxygen started to fill up with more smoke. The crew is trying to, meanwhile, while the crew is trying to keep the passengers calm and everything, and some were even resting and chilling out and sleeping because it was in the middle of night, and it was completely dark. Remember that. Radar is very hard to work in this, and some of the radars and the operational controls were shut down because of the smoke or some accidents, which I have no idea because I'm not a pilot maniac, and it was a very mysterious crash. Take note of that because it was a very mysterious crash and we don't have much evidence except for a few debris, and that's it. So, meanwhile, as the crew was trying to keep the passengers calm, the pilots were in the cabin panicking, and the smoke went through, and the crew was like, oh, what is that? And then, a few minutes later, some messages arrived. The message was lavatory smoke. Lavatory smoke. Yeah, that's a funny, but don't judge. Because it was the lavatory was built on fire, and smoke, and the smoke made the fire, and then soon the cockpit burned, and the radars shut down, and the controls shut down a lot of the controls shut down, and leading to the plane just plummet down into the sea, and it was like super fast. So the fire just jet out of the plane. The passengers were rattling in their seats, and then some were crying, and it was absolutely devastating. Even, I don't even know if oxygen masks existed then, but they did. I don't even know if they dropped down or something, but these innocent people were just sleeping, and they just suddenly woke up and just said, what was that? And the crew was like, oh no, we're gonna die. And then the last message was like smoke. The last message was basically smoke. And it plummeted down. The nose flew out and ricketed back into the ocean. It was like boom, and then the nose just broke off and flew away. The fire just and all the survivors, they were all dead. All the people were dead. Nobody managed to find it out. Today we still only got a few debris about what it was like, but some plane that was so recent, a plane that was so recent that died, a plane that was so recent that just crashed into the ocean. That was so sad. That's a tragic event. But, we have to get lost of sad memories and fix the old bad mistakes. And they did. They didn't allow cigarette smoking anymore inside the plane and the rest of the airlines company. And they had to keep check once more, and they were very wary of what items to fix, such as the oxygen mask and the controls, and made them have a careful and a way more better understanding of Egyptian Flight Air 804. I know, it was a sad and tragic event, but remember, we learn from mistakes, and now hopefully we don't make mistakes of plane crashes and kill these innocent people. Yet. So, thank you for listening.